Welcome and thanks everyone for joining the webinar series of Kritam Advisory on the emerging theme Impetus for Investment in India. In the webinar series, we are capturing the views of industry leaders, international partners, ambassadors, bureaucrats, and policy experts on the emerging theme Investment in India coupled with Make in India. In the said theme today, the topic of the webinar is India Investment Opportunities for American Companies. I am the host for today, Kapil Mahani, CEO and co-founder of Kritam Advisory, which is a multidisciplinary firm with domain experts from various service lines. Kritam Advisory is present in India and UAE and in other countries via network partner in USA, UK, France, Australia, Malta, and Portugal. Today, we have with us the panel of experts from America and India. Mr. Atman Trivedi, who is the MD of Hills & Company, international consultant. Welcome, Mr. Atman.
Pleasure to be here.
Ms. Tonya Neckmeal, she's the MD of IBS and Global Consulting Company, and she's a network partner of Kritam Advisory in USA. Welcome, Tonya.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Good morning. Good evening.
We have India panelist, Mr. Hunar Janu, AVP Invest India, National Investment Promotion Agency of Government of India, who co-heads America's team. Welcome, Mr. Hunar and Invest India.
Thank you for having me, Kapil.
Honorable Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary, Industries and IT, Government of Telangana. Thank you, Mr. Jayesh, for your time and representing the Government of Telangana. Honorable Subramaniam Javedi, CEO from Andhra Pradesh. He is the Commissioner of Industries. Welcome, Mr. Subramaniam. Honorable Anurag Agarwal, MD of Haryana State Industrial Infrastructure Development Corporation and Principal Secretary to Government of Haryana Election Department. Welcome, Mr. Anurag. Shri Navneet Sehgal, Additional Chief Secretary, MSME and Export Promotion of UP. Thank you all for...
I just want to add that Mr. Sehgal sir couldn't be here at this moment due to a last minute hiccup. He had some official engagement, so I'm going to be representing him. I'm a part of the Invest UP team. My name is Ram Kumar. I just wanted to add that. You can please carry on.
Welcome. Thank you all for accepting the invitation and taking your precious time for this webinar. So we'll be starting this webinar on the topic India Investment Opportunities for American Companies. I would like to start with Mr. Atman, who is the MD of Hills & Company, and he's playing a lead role on India investment, India matters.
Thank you, Kapil.
Mr. Atman is a managing director of Hills & Company and has over 20 years of high-level policy, legal, and communication experience across foreign affairs, trade, and defense, with a deep understanding and set of relationship in the Asia region. Earlier in the President Obama's administration, he was the chief of staff in the US State Department International Security. Atman played a lead role on India matters, including the creation of US-India Strategic and Commercial Dialogue and Reimagine US-India CEO Forum, and manage the development of comprehensive strategic plans in the key market with a focus of Asia and Latin America. So we have Mr. Atman, and now we'll be starting by asking the question from Mr. Atman about his views. So considering Mr. Atman yourself has always worked on the outbound investment in foreign market, including India, and recently, on account of COVID, there is a massive supply chain shifting in the world. So can we say that India is going to be a preferred destination for US market to expand and shift its production? So over to you, Mr. Atman, and also if you can just a little bit brief about yourself, then followed up with the answer on this. Thanks.
Sure, Kapil. Thank you to you and Kritam Advisory for bringing us together. It's wonderful to be here this morning or this evening, depending on where you are, with all these terrific panelists. To answer your question about India being a preferred destination, it's a remarkable time right now in the world. We're already seeing massive investments in India in recent months from the likes of American companies like Google, Amazon, and Facebook. Many US companies are certainly taking a closer look at all that India has to offer. They see the potential size of India's market. They recognize its youth and aspiring people, the country's use of technology to innovate, and of course the talent and the skill of its many workers. India, unlike some countries, it's not viewed as a national security threat to the United States, of course. Our relations are quite friendly and amicable. There aren't concerns about forced technology transfer requirements or commercial espionage, like with other investment destinations. So the changing geopolitical and trade winds, they create a unique opportunity for India. A number of US businesses had a positive experience with Invest India to address issues that arose during India's lockdown at the start of the epidemic. I think that kind of customer friendliness can go a long way in creating a positive impression. For a number of companies, it reinforced the sense that there were remarkable changes underway in terms of how the government approaches foreign investment and how keen it is to attract investment. Ultimately, companies look for regulatory and legal certainty and predictability before they invest billions of dollars. Not surprising. Businesses we work with here in Washington consider factors like the relative ease of doing business, the costs associated with land and labor, stable, simple, straightforward tax policies, and of course, protection of intellectual property. These are all areas that the government of India has been focusing on in recent months and has been making progress. Some companies want to trade with the market first to learn more about its potential before they invest. And so an open orientation to US imports and product standards that are generally consistent with global ones, that can help facilitate the initial commercial steps that ultimately result in large investments in India. I think many US companies have taken note of Prime Minister Modi's bold call for Atmanirbhar Bharat. They want to understand more about how they can help India achieve self-reliance and how they can align with the government's priorities in this regard. Finally, I think it's worth noting that major changes in supply chains, they take a little bit more time than I think all of us participating in this call would wish and hope. So that probably counsels in favor of just a little bit of patience and doing the work of making sure we have consistent, coherent policy making. But overall, again, the vast majority of US companies see India as a market in which they must have a robust presence. And I think the future remains quite bright in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Athman. Since Mr. Athman, you have seen that the elections are on the verge on the US side. So does the election in the US impact the US-India trade and commercials? And continued with this, does the US government offer any incentives or restrictions for US companies who are looking to shift or expanded operations in India, like Japan, which are offering incentives for the companies who are looking to shift manufacturing to India?
So you're right to note that we're in the heart of our political season here in Washington, D.C. I think the good news for all of us who work on U.S.-India trade and commerce issues is that the relationship should continue to grow no matter who wins the upcoming presidential elections. Because everyone again recognizes India's virtually limitless market potential, and they want to be a part of its growth story. The private sectors in both countries, not the governments, are chiefly responsible for the remarkable growth in the cross-border business relationship. But I think we can all agree there's so much more we can be doing together. The rate of future growth in trade and commerce, it will be impacted, however, by government policies, both those here in Washington and in New Delhi. And then also official approaches at the subnational level as well. By now, I think many of you who are participating today are broadly aware of Donald Trump's approach to international trade. His view tends to be a little bit more transactional, a bit more adversarial about trade concerns and running trade deficits. His White House imposed steel and aluminum tariffs on India, and it removed preferential trade treatment on about $6 billion in Indian goods over trade issues. So far, his negotiators have been working closely with Indian officials, but they haven't quite yet reached an agreement on a limited trade deal. I think Vice President Biden's approach to trade would be more supportive of rules and market-based open trade policy. That's been the recent norm in both Republican and Democratic administrations since the mid-90s until the current one came to power. But by the same token, in recent years, there's a sense that not everyone in the country, particularly those in the middle class, have benefited from trade. And so Biden is focused on addressing domestic concerns related to trade by investing more in things like healthcare, infrastructure, and education. Things that I know are very important to the Indian government as well. And he wants to make sure environmental and labor perspectives are taken into account in trade agreements. I think the key difference between the two is that Biden is more likely to treat India as a trade partner. That's not to say he wouldn't have policy disagreements, to be sure, but his preference would be to air them respectfully and quietly, as friends tend to do. On investment, Trump's America First policy means that he's less enthusiastic about American companies investing in India. Candidly, he would like to see American businesses return home. And his administration has tried to inject uncertainty into agreements to make foreign investment more closely, to make foreign investment more costly. Biden has agreed to work on immigration reform to help Indian businesses. He'll immediately revoke Trump's suspension of H-1B visas. And he wants to eliminate limits on employment-based green cards. So I think while the trade and commerce relationship is going to continue to grow, regardless of who is president in a few months, there are differences among the two leaders.
Thank you, Mr. Atman, for your insights from the America and your particular field area wherein you are a specialist for the India and America trade.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
So now the next panelist we have is Ms. Tonya, who is the MD of IBS Global Consulting and also a network partner of Freedom Advisory USA. She is Tonya heads the India-US desk, and she is a managing director of IBS Global Consulting. She has been appointed as President Northern USA India Business Council of the Women's India Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the first independent national business chamber for women in India. Tonya is a multi-award winning entrepreneur, international business expert, world traveler, author, and global champion for women's economic empowerment. The firm specializes in helping small and medium-sized companies expand into international market. Thank you, Tonya.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So now for Tonya, we have the question for you is, since you are an international agent partner of Cretam Advisory US India Desk, and also the president of Northern USA India Business Council, what are the kind of queries which are coming from the US client with regard to investment in India, including sectors, if you can tell, and also the business model, whether kind of a contract manufacturing, JV, setting up shared service center, and how your company experienced so far with regard to handling such clients. Over to you, Tonya.
Yeah, so great, thank you. So what we're seeing basically from the American side when it comes to US companies who are looking to do business in India, they're looking to sectors such as software development, ICT, agri-food, manufacturing, IT. So we've seen all of these inquiries come about. I'm sure there's going to be a greater shift towards the production and manufacturing side with the situation that's going on between the US and China. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of that. But just what we've seen so far has really been around the technology, because as you know, India is really known for its knowledge when it comes to ICT, technology, IT. So we have a lot of American companies looking for partnerships in those sectors. What we do specifically in helping, whether it's a US company or Indian company, because we do work in both directions. So we provide support to American companies looking to expand to the Indian market through partners such as yourself, market intelligence, understanding what the market looks like, because the market in India looks totally different from the American market. So making sure that they understand those differences and what that looks like, partner identification, helping American companies find suitable partners, whether it's an agent, a local representative, a distributor, looking at JV partners. That's what we help them in identifying suitable and reputable partners that they can collaborate with on the ground. Also is one of the things that we also provide is helping companies to set up a branch office or establishing physical presence in the Indian market. So that's just some of the basic things that we do. And then of course, you as our partner is there for that on the ground support and hand holding and walking them through that entire process as they are setting up, whether it's a manufacturing plant, whether they're looking at setting up a local office for support office. Those are the types of projects that we've seen and that we're working with closely with your firm.
Okay, thank you. So apart from this, do you see that India is a preferred destination for the companies to shift or expanded operations, specifically in the manufacturing lines, if someone is looking to expand and shift its operations to India? What are your views on that?
Yeah, I think definitely there's going to be a greater shift now. I can say prior to the situation and what we've experienced with COVID and on the political front, that a lot of companies were looking to China. But again, we're seeing that shift now that these companies are looking to India because of the educated workforce that you have there, because of the low cost manufacturing, because it's an English speaking country, which is important for American companies as well. Again, the market size, the diversity that you have in India, those are the key things that the companies are looking to. And I think we're going to see a greater shift from China moving production to India.
Okay. Thank you, Tonya, for your providing the comments from the America side and India side, both. Thank you. Now, the third panelist we have with us is Mr. Hunar Janu, who is the AVP Invest India. Invest India is a national investment promotion agency of the government of India. And he's leading the America's desk responsible for foreign investment portfolio from the US, Mexico, and South America. So I would like to thank Hunar and the entire Invest India team, and I would like to tell us from Mr. Hunar as well to introduce yourself and Invest India first, so that the viewers can know about Invest India more, and also particularly the role and how that they are helping to the companies who are looking for expansion in India.
Sure, Kapil. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning and good evening to all my esteemed co-panelists and the audience. So just a quick introduction then, Kapil, as you suggested. My name is Hunar Janu, and I co-head the Americas desk at Invest India. I'll quickly go through what Invest India does and how my team fits into that overall picture. So Invest India is the National Investment Promotion Agency of India. I should say Investment Promotion and Facilitation Agency of the Government of India. We were essentially established about a decade ago by a cabinet note under the Ministry of Commerce. Within the Ministry of Commerce, there is a department called Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT for short. And they are basically our sponsors, along with a number of industry chambers. So I think that is what makes us a little unique, that we are not solely a government organization, though we are sponsored by the central government. We also have in our stakeholder structure industry associations and also membership from state governments. So industry associations being the ones that you might have heard of, like CII and FICCI and ASSOCHAM and so on. And so that gives us a balanced view or a balanced perspective of things when we are talking about promoting investment and facilitating investors in India. In terms of the services we offer, they are, of course, all services are pro bono. So we don't charge for any of the services we offer. And the services range from across the investment spectrum, mainly for foreign investors who are looking to invest in India. So starting from just the conception or inception stage, where somebody is wondering whether they should invest in India, all the way through to establishing the investment, grounding the investment, to any aftercare services that are needed. And I think the value we bring to the table is that we are the bridge, essentially, between business and investors on the one hand, and the Indian government on the other hand. Because of how we are set up, the Indian government looks at us as a part of their structure. But if you talk to us or visit our office, you will be surprised how corporate we are. And most of our staff has corporate backgrounds, and so we talk the language of the business and the investors, and so essentially that is the value we bring to the table. So I think I'll take a pause there, Kapil. I don't want to go on too long about us. Of course, everything is on our website, and we can be reached quite easily. So I'll take a pause there, and we'll take the conversation forward.
So for Hunar, since you mentioned that you are the person bridge between the investors and the government. So we just want to understand, first of all, from you, what are the India credentials with US companies in the past, and what is India offering to the companies which are shifting or expanding its operation from other countries after COVID period? And what comfort India is offering to those companies in terms of plug and play model to start the operation from day one. So over to you, Mr. Hunar.
Yeah, Kapil, sure. So I think those are all very pertinent and excellent questions. In terms of India's credentials for US businesses, let me just take a quick step back and look at it from a longer perspective. So we are working internally. We are working on this little booklet that is going to come out soon, where we have been researching a little about US businesses in India and so on. And I think people would be surprised here who do not know that US businesses have been dealing with, trading with, and working in India for more than 200 years. So the first one we could find was DuPont, which had been sourcing chemicals from India as long back as the beginning of the 19th century. And interestingly, there are other such very interesting facts. For example, how many of us know that about 100 years back, both Ford and GM were actually assembling cars in India, both for the local market and for export. And companies like GE were building some of the greatest projects in Asia back then. And so, it has been a long relationship where US businesses have not only been present in India, but they have thrived in India. And apart from, like, I think a very brief patch, a rough patch that we saw in the 70s, probably. Apart from that, US businesses have really grown in India to the extent that a lot of these businesses are now household names. So people in India do not even realize that they're actually US companies. People think they're local companies, like, Colgate Palmolive or, some other companies. And I think the reason for that, as the previous speakers mentioned, both Mr. Trivedi and Ms. Tonya, is that there are always some temporary rough patches, but what's really important is our long-term fundamental relationship, the fundamentals of the economic relationship, the strategic relationship, rule of law, and so on, that this relationship rests on. And I don't need to kind of enumerate, I guess, in this meeting. Everybody knows, both at the demand side and the supply side, what India really offers. And, that are just mind-boggling numbers on both sides, both in terms of consumption and supply and so on. So I think in terms of credentials, one just needs to step back and look at the long relationship that we have had. In terms of what India offers to US investors, or to basically any investor, foreign investor looking at India.
Yes.
Let me talk about some very specific things that we, as Invest India, along with DPIIT and the Government of India, have been doing. And I think this would be helpful to many of the investors and businesses who are listening to this in the audience. So we have been working on a number of projects that span across the spectrum of both from in terms of easing the regulations and the challenges there are in doing business in India, all the way to the other end of the spectrum, where we are enabling, not just enabling, but we are incentivizing businesses in India. And I'll just quickly mention a few of these because I don't want to take too much of time. I know there is a very esteemed list of panelists right after me as well, from the state governments and so on. The first one, I think, and I'll talk about the recent ones. The first one, the most important, is that we have set up what is known as an empowered group of secretaries, which is headed by the cabinet secretary. It is a committee that has been set up with one sole purpose: to be extremely responsive, to make sure that the Indian government is extremely responsive to businesses and investments that are facing any kind of challenge across their investment journey in India. So it is one committee, and it has members from all the ministries at the central level, the secretary level members, who are the real decision makers when it comes to the Indian bureaucracy. And then within each ministry, there has been set up a team called the Project Development Cell, the PDC. The idea of this within each ministry is to identify projects that are significant. There are various parameters they use to evaluate that, but identify projects that are significant and then proactively, suo moto, handhold them across this investment process. And provide them whatever incentives are needed, whatever kind of, even if they are customized and so on, for them to establish and grow in India. So that's on one side. Then we have a number of projects we are doing, which I would kind of club into the whole digital transformation of the services that the government provides. And all of our state governments are partners with us on this one. So we have we're trying to establish a single window system at the national level. Now, anybody who's had any experience of doing in business in India knows the number of approvals and clearances you have to take even before you start doing business, start your operations. And how you have to go from to across a number of offices and number of ministries and so on. We are trying to establish just one portal where all these investments approvals would be available, and the investor can figure out which approvals are applicable to him or her, and not just figure it out, but also apply and obtain these approvals on that portal, all digital. And in fact, the vision is that somebody sitting in say New York or San Francisco can just log into this portal, and they can online have a look at the land that is available, what are the facilities available. They can arrange video conferences, video meetings with the respective decision makers, and they can do they can go through the process on this portal. So that is in progress. We plan to release the first version of that in April next year. The second one we have is the industrial information system, which was recently released. The first version of it was recently released by the Honorable Commerce Minister. And it basically has what is known as the GIS, the geographically indicated system of mapping, where again, it has information on all industrial clusters, industrial land banks available in India and so on, which you can access from anywhere in the world. And go through the process of identifying land, which is the most critical part of establishing any investment, and taking approvals and so on. This will be integrated with the single window system. Then we come to all the impetus that is being given to infrastructure, and this is where the PPP projects come in, the public-private partnership, the plug and play model, projects around that. And as you must have heard in the last budget speech, there is a pipeline already identified of these infrastructure projects spanning across, energy, utilities, roads, railways, setting up plug and play, land banks, and so on. That spans, that is a total of $1.4 trillion of investment. And of course, the government itself is not going to do all of it. It is looking actively for partnership from the private industry in establishing these projects. Interestingly, here again, we have a portal called India Investment Grid. And I would encourage everybody to have a look, whoever is interested, where we have listed all these projects. There are about, I think, more than 9,000 projects right now that investors can have a look at across plug and play, national investment pipeline, non-NIP, stressed assets that are up for monetization or sale and so on. And that is a massive area of reform and partnership that can be done. So I think there is a long list. I'll take a pause there, but there is a long list, and we are happy to discuss them. We are very reachable, approachable, and we are happy to discuss them with whoever is interested in going through these.
Thank you, Hunar. One thing which I just want everyone to know about this is that what are the major sectors wherein the investment are keep on coming, even the COVID, because after COVID, there are certain kind of sectors wherein there might be some challenge, but I'm sure there are certain sectors, even in a COVID, the investment has come. And in fact, I've read somewhere that India among the world got the maximum investment during the COVID period in the world. So can you just give some light on sectors as well?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have definitely seen a significant kind of shift. It's a contrasting picture. I would be frank with that. It's a contrasting picture. Some sectors have seen a jump in investment, and some have seen investments dwindle. And I think just to quickly address your question, everybody would know here, I guess, that sectors like technology and IT are the ones where we are seeing significant investment, especially with deals in telecom and IT networks and digital infrastructure, with the likes of Facebook, Google, Amazon investing in India. I think just over the last few months, about more than 10 billion, I think way more than that, has been invested in that specific sector by a number of these companies. And overall, I think we have right now more than about 22 or 23 billion dollars of investment that have been poured into these specific sectors. Pharmaceuticals is another one. We are seeing significant interest because of the short-term jump in the demand, and the fact that India is, I think India is really the one of the few that are placed to actually address that demand at the scale and the cost that it needs to be addressed at. And this is not just a business question. I think it's become a moral question, really. And I think that is where it is in the interest of everyone to see India being able to plug that demand through the supply it can generate. There are, of course, concerns, like Mr. Trivedi mentioned, around property protection and so on, and we should be cognizant of that. But it's really, we'll have to balance this. It's an unprecedented situation, and we have to balance that. There is, interestingly, there is a significant interest we have seen, specifically from the US, in terms of defense manufacturing and defense contracting. And I think that's got to do with the longer term trend. And I think this is where I would also like to mention, look, COVID is a significant event, and we'll all be dealing with it for the next couple of years. But I don't think that changes the fundamentals, really. We will come out of this, and hopefully, it won't change the fundamentals. And so while we have to respond to it, I wouldn't like to read too much into it in terms of the longer term trend. India and US are like two massive ships that are converging. I don't mean to imply to crash, yeah, but to merge. We are moving together. We are converging, and that trend is going to continue. And we are going to overcome this transient problem, though massive it is. And we're going to build on it. I'm sure of it.
Thanks, Sunil. In fact, what you just said is that we have to keep going. And in fact, just as what I have seen in one of the publication is that India has signed one defense deal in this month only with US specifically on the defense side. And also, in fact, when I talk about Kritam as well, the Kritam is working and handholding with all the players like Tonya and Atman and other countries as well, so that the traveling, when it is a challenge, then there is always a hand-holding which needs to provide, so that to make the things possible without traveling for the persons and make the things happen on ground as well in India. So now, thank you, Hunar, for your insights, and Invest India for promoting this event and make it successful. And now we have with us Honorable Jayesh Ranjan ji. He is the Principal Secretary, Industry and IT, Government of Telangana. I welcome Mr. Jayesh into this webinar and giving his precious time and also accepting the invitation at last minute.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone in the US, and good evening to fellow panelists and participants from India. My name is Jayesh Ranjan. I work for the government of Telangana. As I'm sure most of you would know, India has 28 states, 28 provinces. So some of us are going to share with you a state's perspective. You heard about national programs like Make in India, Self-Reliant India, and so on and so forth. But most of the action happens in the states. So I would like to share with you what exactly goes on in the state and how can a state help American investments materialize and take off in India. So let me share a little bit about Telangana. So we are a state which is located roughly in the middle of the country. This is a new state. So unlike the US, where you have 50, perhaps 51 frozen number of states, in India, the constitution allows new states to be constituted if there is a very strong justification. So Telangana got created as a new state 6 years ago. And in the last 6 years, we have received almost $27 billion worth of investments. Now, those of you who are seasoned about investment figures and investment numbers in India, many of you may say that there's nothing great about, there's nothing earth-shattering about 27 billion. In fact, the three other states who are going to speak after me, many of them will tell you that they have received twice that much or thrice that much also. But what is remarkable about Telangana's $27 billion investment is that, first of all, See, in our bureaucracy, we use a term which is called conversion ratio. So how much of the announced investment actually materialized on ground? And the typical Indian experience of the last 3-4 decades is that it is roughly around 30% to 40%, which materializes on ground, and rest of it just fizzles away. So as I said, the remarkable thing about Telangana is that we have so far in the last 6 years, we have achieved 82% conversion, which is unbelievable. By Indian standards, it is twice that of average. And I'm very sure that if you give us another couple of years, we will cross even 95% or so. So unbelievable conversion ratio, which also shows that whatever we promise, whatever we announce is actually delivered on ground. The second very remarkable thing about this 27 billion investment is that almost 1/4, a quarter of it, precisely 23%, is repeat investment, which means that a company invested once, and because it found the going to be very, very good, it invested the second time, and it invested the third time, and so on and so forth. In fact, I'll be happy to share with you an example of a company which has made 6 investments in Telangana in the last 6 years. So you can imagine the level of satisfaction we provide to the companies that are investing here. The third very important thing is that if you look at who all are investing in Telangana, of course, large number of domestic players are here, but we have been able to receive investments from 18 different countries in these last 6 years. And again, since I'm speaking in the American context, I'm very happy to share with you that the largest overseas investors in Telangana are American companies. And just now, Hunar spoke about IT investments by Amazon, Google, Facebook, etc. I will share a statistic which will make your eyes pop out. The statistic is like this. If you look at which are the top 5 most valued tech companies in the world, if you just go to the search and just type most valued companies in the world, you'll see many companies in the list. One of them is a non-tech company, which is the Saudi Arabian Aramco. But if you remove Aramco, you will find, of course, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook. You'll find all of them. And Apple, of course. And the amazing thing which I want to share with you is that each of these 5, the top 5 of each of the top 5, their second largest footprint in the world outside their own American headquarters is in Hyderabad. I mean, no other Indian city has this kind of a distinction. So Apple, for example, their largest footprint, their largest office is in Cupertino, second largest in Hyderabad. Amazon, largest office in Seattle, second largest in Hyderabad. Google, largest office in Mountain View. Now, let me tell you something. Google is no longer second largest in Hyderabad. The Hyderabad headcount is now exceeding Mountain View headcount. We have 57,000 Google employees in Hyderabad. They don't have even these many in Mountain View. Facebook, largest in Menlo Park, second largest here in Hyderabad. Microsoft, of course, largest in Redmond, but the second largest in Hyderabad. And the list goes on and on. If I go beyond the top 5, if I want to check who else is there in the list, you'll find Salesforce, you'll find Uber, largest footprint in San Francisco, second largest in Hyderabad. ServiceNow, largest in the US, second largest in Hyderabad. If you look at other sectors, if you look at defense and aerospace, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, GE, you name them, they have huge manufacturing and R&D presence in Hyderabad. And there are so many other sectors also, including life sciences, where we have presence of Johnson & Johnson and others. So if you ask all these investors, what is it that brought them to Hyderabad? So when the Apple facility was inaugurated in Hyderabad, Apple has a big footprint here. Their entire Maps team is located in Hyderabad. 7,000 people work out of that facility. So Tim Cook himself had come to inaugurate that facility, and we had asked him, I mean, you could have gone anywhere in the world, what brought you to Hyderabad? And he shared with us in confidence, of course, but that was 4 years ago, so I can speak about it publicly. He had mentioned to us at that time that they evaluated 28 cities across the globe, including 5-6 Indian cities, and they felt that the strongest value proposition can be offered in Hyderabad. And today, and at that time, we had also asked Tim, what is going to be the size of this facility? And he had told that he expects around 5,000 people to work in that facility. His own estimates have been belied. They are 7,000 now, and they're still growing. So if you ask any of these guys, I mean, what is it that has attracted you to India and, of course, to Telangana and to Hyderabad? So 4 or 5 reasons they will give. One is that we have a very progressive investment policy, When the Prime Minister had asked, when the Prime Minister started this campaign called Make in India 5 years ago, he wanted the states to reform. And Telangana is today recognized as the state which reformed the most. In fact, some of the reforms which we have carried out, other states could not even think of emulating them. See, in India, it's this happens very quickly. The moment a state comes out with a reform, 10 other states copy it, which is great. I mean, this is what competitive federalism is all about. But there are certain reforms which we have brought in. I mean, states can't even think of getting into that kind of mindset. So I'll give you an example. We permit companies to build their factory. So I told you a while ago that Lockheed has a manufacturing facility here. Now, I can share that video with you. I mean, it is on tape. Lockheed's Indian CEO, he shared once in an open meeting that Lockheed has 18 facilities across the world. And he mentioned in that public forum that the factory which took the least amount of time to get ready was Hyderabad. And the reason is that in Hyderabad, in Telangana, that is, we permit companies to start building the factory right on day one. No permissions are required, no approvals are required. Other states are still talking about simplifying permissions, simplifying approvals. The radicalness of our thinking is that we have done away with permissions and approvals. No approval is required. You take your land and from the same evening, you can break the ground and start construction. Of course, it doesn't mean that you don't require any permission at all, any approval at all. The law of our state tells you that you need all these approvals and permissions when you are ready with the commercial production. And there also, we guarantee that all these permissions and approvals will be given to you on the 15th day. If you do not get it on the 15th day, you can start your commercial production on the 16th day and no question will be asked. And we have another feature in our investment policy, which is that for some reason, if we delay, if we are not able to commit our approvals and permissions in 15 days, we conduct an internal inquiry to find out who is the person responsible for that delay. And for instance, if it is found that I delayed it by 4 days, 4 days of my salary will be deducted and given to that company. And you may think that it is a joke. It looks very good to write it on paper and tom it, but I can share this with you that on 7 occasions we have penalized officers for delaying. Of course, I was never penalized. I'm careful about these matters. But 5-6 of my colleagues faced this penalty of 2 days salary cut or 4 days salary cut. Of course, deducting 1,000 rupees from my salary or 2,000 rupees from my salary is no big deal. But it's a matter of accountability, that if I promise something, am I living up to it or not? So this is one feature which everyone appreciates a lot. The second is the infrastructure support that we provide. We have strategically located industrial parks, the largest industrial land bank in the country, and very good infrastructure support in form of water, power, 24/7 dedicated power supply, and so on and so forth. So that is the other feature. The third thing is that most of our industrial parks are located close to the city of Hyderabad. If you go to some other state, they may tell you that, okay, our industrial park is 700 kilometers from our capital. You may have to go to another part of our state. But ours being a compact state, everything is located in and around Hyderabad. And Hyderabad is rated year after year after year as the best Indian city in terms of quality of living. And lots of these international companies, global companies, they find this also the value proposition in terms of infrastructure of Hyderabad, high quality infrastructure at a very, very affordable cost as a very strong value proposition. So in the technology world, since no one from Karnataka government is here, so I can share this with you very frankly. At the end of it, it becomes a choice between Hyderabad and Bangalore, because Bangalore also has a very strong reputation of being the technology hub of the country, and Hyderabad rivals it. But off late, in the last 5-6 years, as I said, I noticed that lots of people move away from Bangalore because of the extremely low value proposition on infrastructure. The traffic congestion, the pollution, the prohibitive cost of infrastructure, etc., drives them to Hyderabad. So for example, this is the office space that I have in Hyderabad, and there is a comparable office space in Bangalore. In Bangalore, I'll be paying twice the rent as compared to Hyderabad, and I'll be getting only half the infrastructure. So that value proposition is very strong. Talent is another very winning feature for Hyderabad. We offer the best quality talent. As I told you, Apple selected Hyderabad after comparing it with 28 cities, and talent won the game for us. Hyderabad, Apple felt that because they have set up their maps team here, GIS is a very important requirement for them, and they felt that the best GIS guys anywhere in the world are in Hyderabad. So, and we also have a government institution called TASK, the Telangana Academy for Skills and Knowledge. So, if, for instance, Apple finds that there are certain skill sets which are missing in the students or the freshers who are coming out in the job market, this institution teaches them while they're completing their education and makes them job ready so that they can be deployed on projects right on day one. Now, the other very important feature about Telangana's investment policy is the package of incentives that I give. Now, you will listen after me, three other states. They will all tell you about incentives. They give this waiver, they give this concession, and so on and so forth. Let me be honest and upfront about it, that the incentives in all the Indian states, at least the front-running Indian states, are more or less the same. There is just a fraction difference here and there. Someone may offer you a better tax return. Some may offer you a little bit more of power tariff concession. But if you look at the totality of the package, then what we offer in Telangana is amongst the best in the country. But we have another very important feature in our industrial policy, which is that if an investor tells us that another state is offering X to him, I will be willing to either meet it or beat it. If he tells me that Bangalore government is offering me this package, I will close my eyes and sign on it. There is no negotiation, no discussion, no give and take. We have this meet or beat policy. And again, this is something which we have applied in a few cases, and we have been very successful in wooing away investments which were committed to some other states. And of course, the last thing which I'll share with you is that Telangana, being in the center of the country, has logistics advantage. We are all the e-commerce companies. So Amazon, for example, their largest fulfillment center, their warehouses are called fulfillment center. The largest of them in Asia, not just in India, is located in Hyderabad. And there are all other e-commerce players also, including Walmart, etc. They voted on their feet to put their logistics facilities here. The government is also very proactive towards the industry. There have been perfect labor relations, harmonious worker-labor-employee relations in the last 6 years. Government proactively intervenes if there is even the smallest hitch which is faced by anyone. So for all these reasons, as I said, Telangana has become the go-to destination. We have 14 priority sectors in which we look for investments, but I'll tell you about 6 of them, which are the most fetching for the state. The first one is, of course, IT, and I already shared with you. The 5 of the top 5 have largest footprints in the state. Second is electronics manufacturing. Third is aerospace and defense. Hyderabad is also the life sciences, biotechnology, and vaccines capital of the world. You will be again amazed to learn that 1/3 of world's vaccines are manufactured in Hyderabad. The entire Africa supply of vaccine goes from Hyderabad, including HIV, AIDS vaccines, and so on and so forth. In addition, we are also very keen to receive investments in food processing, in textile, in plastics and chemicals, and so on. So I'll stop here. What I'll do is that I'll also type my mail ID, my contact details in the chat box. And if you want to reach out to me at any point in time, please feel free to do so. Of course, very happy to link up with you through Kritam as well. They have done a fantastic job in putting together this seminar. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jayesh, for the insightful. And in fact, I must say that the kind of passion is more like running a company, wherein the CEO of the company is so passionate to bring the business on the plate. The similar kind of passion I can very well see in your words and the credentials which state has earned. So I just want one thing, if you can tell to everyone about the ease of doing business ranking, which Telangana has earned recently. So just one, because already the time has, so if you can mention your...
Telangana is a very strong performer on ease of doing business. We have the 3rd rank this year. We were 2nd last year and 1st the year before. But the difference between 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and potentially even 4th, 5th is very, very narrow. So my friend Mr. Subramaniam will tell you that he's number one, but it doesn't mean that they are outperforming us greatly. It's a matter of fractions. And as I told you, I wish Subramaniam well, but by and large, don't go by these kind of rankings alone. For instance, the other industry-friendly states like Gujarat, Karnataka, Maharashtra, they are in the 10s and 20s and all. But it doesn't mean that no one should go to Gujarat, no one should go to Maharashtra. I mean, these are numbers which look good on newspaper headlines, but you should do your own due diligence of what works on the ground. Please take help of Hunar, who will be able to give you a more realistic perspective on what happens in Indian states.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jayesh. So now we have with us another panelist, Honorable Subramaniam Javedi, who is the CEO of Andhra Pradesh Economic Development Board, Government of Andhra Pradesh, and Commissioner of Industries, AP. Welcome, Mr. Subramaniam.
Good morning. Thank you, Kapil. Good morning to all the investors and friends from US, and good evening to all the fellow panelists. Let me tell you, this is a wonderful session to participate, and also the two speakers before me has made my job much more easier. One, because Invest India, the counterpart for Invest India is AP Economic Development Board, for which I am heading as a CEO. And of course, I'm also the Commissioner of Industries. My name is Subramaniam Javadi. And the Principal Secretary of Telangana has made my life easier, much more easier, because Andhra Pradesh and Telangana were one state at one point in time, and it was a friendly division which happened about 6 years back. So all the advantages are shared by both the states. Let me tell you that every fourth person working in the Silicon Valley belongs to the Telugu-speaking community. So that is the kind of prowess that the Telugu-speaking states share. And I'm very happy that he has projected the entire gamut of opportunity and the kind of strength that the Telugu-speaking states have got. But to be very specific as to what Andhra Pradesh has got to offer and the kind of ecosystem and opportunities, I'll be very brief. Just for the convenience of the participants, I'll run you through a presentation which will give you a flavor of what Andhra Pradesh can offer for investments from the US, investors from the US. And of course, yes, we are very proud to state that we are the first ranked state on the ease of doing business. And this is a rank which we have been continuing for the last 4 years. And we value this a lot, because this is a ranking which has been given by the World Bank, and the investor community has vouched for this. Andhra Pradesh-US relationship has always been an upward trajectory, and let me tell you, 40 of the top Fortune 500 companies operate in the state of Andhra Pradesh. It's a continuous engagement. One of the largest FDIs into the state of Andhra Pradesh has been from the US, and of course from Korea as well, and Japan. So these are the three major FDI investment which have come into the state of Andhra Pradesh. And the leading brands are for all of you to see, be it Mondelez, IFF, Kellogg's, PepsiCo. And there is a big defense collaboration happening with the state of Andhra Pradesh as well. We have participated in the Defense Expo last time. And on the left, you see our Honorable Chief Minister, and on the right, you see our Minister for Industries. So as I told you, the largest Telugu diaspora in US belongs to the Telugu-speaking states. And this is a photograph from the meeting address of our Honorable Chief Minister at Chicago last August. And the kind of audience, the kind of presence of the diaspora there was really electrifying. Now, what makes Andhra Pradesh one of the best states for investment? We have a robust policy framework and a transparent government. See, here when we speak of transparency, every other person would speak of transparency in government and policy continuity. Let me put it this way. The manifesto, the election manifesto of the government of the day is put on a public website, and 90% of the manifesto items have already been completed in the first year of our government. So that is the kind of promise that we do and the kind of delivery that we make. And the entire transparency in government stands testimony for that very fact. And of course, we are like Telangana, we are investing a whole lot into our skill development centers for building industry for skills. We are a state which has got one of the largest export potential, because we have the largest coastline on the east coast of India. 40% of our exports go to the US in terms of fishery shrimps. Probably when you go to a market and buy a shrimp, in all probability it would have been exported from India, and even from within India, from the state of Andhra Pradesh. So that is the kind of export prowess that we enjoy. And of course, bulk drugs, generics, IT enabled services, there are exports which are happening. And Andhra Pradesh has got India's first medtech zone, which is very futuristic, and which is collaborating with 4 incubators in the US, and almost 80 companies operate out of this medtech zone. So I'll just take the agenda onto 3-fold. One, how we dealt with COVID, because that's an important black swan event which we are all facing. And of course, an brief overview of the industrial ecosystem in AP and our single desk system, which you would definitely be interested to know, and focus on and something on our focus sectors. And here you see that the country as a whole, the media declared Andhra Pradesh as one of the most successful lockdown states. This is a state which has done the highest amount of tests. We are comparable to any European country. So we are almost 10 times more than what is the Indian average of tests. And for that, this has been widely acknowledged. And during the lockdown and post-lockdown, the kind of support that has been given to the industries operating in the state have testimonials which you can see. Now, the industrial ecosystem that operates in the state of Andhra Pradesh, as I told you, we are the second longest coastline in India and the longest on the east coast, which gives a great opportunity for export-oriented units, for units which would like to import raw material into the state, like the electronics, even the bulk drugs. You would be having that opportunity of logistics, convenience, and 6 operational ports and 6 operational airports, 3 of them international airports. So the length and breadth of the state is covered by industrial corridors, the Visakhapatnam-Chennai Industrial Corridor and the Chennai-Bangalore Industrial Corridor, which would give you, wherever you go in the state, you would get an industrial ecosystem in place with specific products. So now this presentation I would share, and I would not wait here. So yes, we are, I will just take a minute to speak on our ease of doing business in the last 3 years. When we speak of ease of doing business, it is the real ease of doing business that we are speaking, because any investor coming to the state with a proposal for approvals, 21 days under the law, the Public Service Delivery Guarantee Act, with a penalty, of course, is there as a legal framework. And within 21 days, if the approvals are not given, there is a provision for deemed approvals. And our performance has been 99.7% on our SLAs, and 11-day average time is the time taken for approval. So which means you come, and you start. That's the kind of an approach that we follow. And this is a power surplus state, 21 gigawatts of power, huge industrial land bank, 40,000 plus acres of industrial land bank, skill development centers, high-end electronic skill university coming up, and industrial corridors. And this is the knowledge hub. You would see in my next slides where I would show you the kind of engineering prowess and the kind of education prowess that this state enjoys. So I spoke about this. I'm not going to speak more. 21 days, we have a dedicated investor facilitation center, single desk bureau, and our rejections are as low as 0.9%, and average time taken just 11 days. So that's what makes the state of Andhra Pradesh #1 in the ease of doing business rankings, and we value this. Now, under the new industrial policy, we have set up business enablement centers both at the district headquarters and at the state headquarters in the name of YSR AP1, which would take care of everything right from the start of business to land allotment to facilitation of approvals, then hand-holding, and also in case the marketing support, and in case if someone goes bad or sick, then the revitalization as well. So there is a whole lot of services happening under one umbrella, which is called the YSR AP1. Now, competitive advantage, what does the state of Andhra Pradesh offer when compared to other states? I'm not making a comparison here to other states because we are one of the lowest in parameters of labor wage, water charges, land costs. We are either comparable or much lower than some of the other industrialized states. But I'm not making a comparison here because we are looking India as a whole. But let me tell you that the kind of land that is available, industrial land bank that's available is in plenty, and you would see developed lands. It's not just undeveloped lands, but developed lands with trunk infrastructure available with the skilled manpower ready to occupy. So, and industrial zoning is one thing which we have come up recently, so that you set up a company in a particular zone, and then tomorrow some industrial disaster or some kind of an environment disaster happens, and you have a risk at hand. So we are doing the industrial zoning, and we'll tell you which type of industries, which type of sectors can come where. And this, the entire idea is to provide a complete risk-free environment to the investors in an investor-friendly manner. So as I told you, we are the knowledge hub. We have the biggest working age population, 71%, more than 368 engineering colleges. 24% of the IT engineers in India are from the state of Andhra Pradesh. And in fact, many of the IT engineers working in Hyderabad also hail from Andhra Pradesh, and we are proud about that. So we have international collaborations and institutional collaborations with these education institutions, making it more academia industry connect. So we feature among the top 10 places for manufacturing. This was a study done by Invest India and JLL, and we are one of the 10 great places for manufacturing in the country. And let me quickly wrap up with the industrial policy incentives. Of course, many states are comparable to the industrial policy incentives. What I would think is many companies wouldn't come for incentives, but it would be coming for the ecosystem that operates in the state, industrial ecosystem. But there are power reimbursements, 100% SGST reimbursements, and rebate in land costs. The most important thing is we offer land on a lease come sale basis, which means when you start up, obviously you can take the land on lease, operate it for a period of time for 10 years, and then go for a buy. So which means that your initial cost of investment would go down, and the land becomes yours after a point in time. So this has been widely appreciated in the investor community of late. And on the focus sectors, we have 10 focus sectors. Pharmaceuticals, as I told you, we export 16% of the India's production comes from the state of Andhra Pradesh. More of them on the US FDA approved pharmaceutical units. We have pharma parks with the common facility centers, CETPs, and it's very much there. The AMTZ, the AP MedTech zone, is what I already told you. Food processing, yes, we are a leader, because we are the India's largest producer of eggs, mango, papaya, chili, lemon. And of course, being a coastal state, we are first on the coastal and freshwater aquaculture. And as I told you, 46% of the shrimp exports from the country, Indian subcontinent, goes from Andhra Pradesh. And of course, there are a whole lot of opportunities for investment in terms of packaging, cold chain, food testing, laboratories, etc. And the key investments I'm showing you on the marquee investors who are already available in the state. Electronics, again, every second we assemble a mobile phone in the state of Andhra Pradesh. The largest contract manufacturers for Apple, Foxconn, operates out of Andhra Pradesh. We have electronic manufacturing clusters, and clusters of Japanese, Taiwanese, Chinese, and South Korean. And we have a special package for the electronic manufacturing clusters and components. Of course, aerospace and defense, it's a niche area which we are developing. Textiles, we are the 7th largest producer of cotton, and the 3.6 million spindles operate in the state of AP. We have prowess on spinning, ginning, and slowly moving into technical textiles. So this is a key opportunity that US companies would be having. One of the largest automobile manufacturers of Korea, Kia, has set up shop in Andhra Pradesh in the last 2 years. And let me tell you a success example. Just within a span of 14 months from the date of signing of the MOU, the investment was grounded, and it's a $2 billion investment which got grounded in straight 14 months. So that's the kind of modeling that we do in case any big investors would like to come and set up. So Vizag is a growing tier 2 city on IT and IT electronic services. And we are rated one of the best state in skill development with the Skill University coming up in Visakhapatnam. Of course, we have the collaborations with IBM, Siemens, and many others. And in the interest of time, I wouldn't go into this. We are a power surplus state, and there are opportunities on investments in power sector. We are going in for a complete renovation of our grid, and so the grid modernization and also our agriculture grid separation will throw up opportunities to the tune of almost 10,000 crores in the next 2 years' time for companies coming and investing in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And we have a Make in India policy, and we also have a Make in AP policy, wherein there is a price preference of about 5%, almost 20% for Indian companies and 5% for people in Andhra Pradesh who would be investing in the state of, there is a price point preference. So all this is there on the platter for investors from US, and for any kind of a support, we are there. We are there on the single window. We are there at the touch of click of a mouse. We are there, and we will have the quickest response possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Subramaniam, for your time and accepting the invitation, and for the insightful knowledge. We'll surely, the kind of knowledge which you just shown and also insights about the states will be very helpful for the investors. And as well as we'll be circulating this video specifically for each state to all the investors via our partners and specifically, and we'll surely come back with specific queries from the investors. Thank you for your time. Next, we have with us Mr. Anurag Agarwal, Shri Anurag Agarwal, MD of Haryana State Industrial Infrastructure Development Corporation and Principal Secretary to Government Haryana Election Department. Welcome, Mr. Anurag Agarwal. I think we can. There might be some delay on it.
कस्टमर की नहीं है तो उसे फर्क नहीं, उसे तो TDS बेनिफिट मिल जाए.
Yes, so now we have one with us. Next, go to the Uttar Pradesh. So we have with us representative from UP who will be providing the insight, will be giving the insights about incentives offered by the state for the foreign investors. Over to you.
Good morning and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Kapil. My name is Ram Kumar and I work for the Invest UP team. I wish Mr. Navneet Sehgal could be here, but due to some official exigencies, he couldn't be over here. Now, before I go into the details about Invest Uttar Pradesh and how tremendous UP is doing, I just want to present a 2-minute investment pitch that represents on what is going on so far. So let me just share the screen. this was a short pitch from Uttar Pradesh state point of view. So before I go into a presentation on explaining why Uttar Pradesh, just a quick recent happenings that has happened so far. So Uttar Pradesh is now ranked second in terms of ease of doing business. So we just lack a rank behind Andhra Pradesh, just because we fall short of one reform that we are on the verge of implementing it. And there have been, and the major reasons for jumping from rank 12 to second is the Nivesh Mitra, the single window portal that has acted as a major catalyst in providing 94% no objection certificates to at least 2.3 lakh investors. And we are already in the segment of making reforms for the BRAC 2021 segments. We have already implemented 170 out of 301 parameters that has been fulfilled by Nivesh Mitra. So these are few of the major highlights that why Uttar Pradesh has jumped on so far on rankings from 12th to 2nd. Let me just go towards a short pitch on talking about the infrastructure and the ease of doing business and the skilled labors of Uttar Pradesh and some swift approvals that has been setting examples. I hope the presentation is visible to everyone.
Yes, yes. So, yes.
So, Invest UP, dedicated desk that has been a 4-country desk have been developed so far. Shri Navneet Sehgal handles the USA desk, and he's taking care of the investments coming from Europe as well as from America. So, on talking about why Uttar Pradesh as compared to other states is because, of course, incentives is one thing that is provided by or on a similar levels by all of the states. But what sets UP apart is a huge, humongous consumer base, a 230 million population. I mean, for any industries to come, you need a domestic consumer base, which UP already provides. And if we talk about the GDP, $250 billion GDP, it's the size comparable to that of a Czech Republic. And it's also the third most visited state in India by the foreign visitors. And when we talk about seamless connectivity in India, a lot of industrial corridors pass through Uttar Pradesh. Almost 57% of its catchment area falls under the Eastern Western corridor, comes under Uttar Pradesh. And we have an extensive, broad railway networks. We have 8 airports in the pipeline, the 7 international airports already. And we have one of the fastest expressways in India, the Lucknow-Agra expressways, built in a record time. So that is one thing in terms of infrastructure and connectivity that Uttar Pradesh has to offer. And when we talk about the 3L advantage, the land, labor, and the logistics, so I'm sure all of the states have enough land bank available. So UP is also one among them. And when we talk about labor, yes, of course, UP, if you compare, we have got one of the cheapest and the most humongous labor population. I mean, we are the highest in number of MSMEs. Almost, we have the India's largest share of MSMEs, 9 million MSMEs, and still there are a lot of UP workers that go to other states. Irrespective of we having so many number of ancillary units, is because of the cheap labor that's available in Uttar Pradesh. And apart from that, where we have a multi-modal logistic ports located at various parts, as you can see in the map, spread across from the north to the south of Uttar Pradesh. And when we talk about other factors, is like #1 state in terms of having the number of MSMEs, and we are #1 state in terms of mobile production volume. Almost 40% is produced in Noida. And Noida is also the recipient of India's largest space manufacturing program beneficiary. It's an electronics hub. We are the destination to Asia's one of the largest airports, the Jewar International Airport. It's going to supersede the Indira Gandhi National Airport with the 6 runways, going to be developed by the Zurich International Airport. And we are the terminus to the largest defense corridor. Now, you might be knowing that there are 2 defense corridors that are going to be that have been declared by the government of India, one in Uttar Pradesh and one in Tamil Nadu. In terms of the area catchment, Uttar Pradesh is the largest with across 6 nodes proposed across Uttar Pradesh. In terms of textiles, we are the second largest. We are one of the largest manufacturing of textile, and the second largest, of course, Kanpur and Agra is very well known for its leather production. When we talk about power supplies, we have a 26.5 gigawatt installed power capacity, and we are undoubtedly one of the largest agri producers. We are the kind of a mixed agrarian industrial economy. I mean, we produce 19% of the agri production in India. Highest number of potatoes, third largest producer of guavas, or when you say mangoes, Uttar Pradesh is to be named. In fact, PepsiCo was delighted to invest more than 500 crores for wafers manufacturing, potato wafer manufacturing here in Uttar Pradesh. It was the CEO was quite delightful in its experience in coming in Uttar Pradesh, that it has its plan to expand by investing 400 crores more, owing to the government's extensive support that has been provided. We are amongst the top 6 exporters in India, and of course, we are India's largest, one of the largest horticulture hub in India. When we talk about conducive business environment, we have almost the same kind of ease of approvals and the single window portals that I'm sure the other states are pitching in as well. But what sets us apart is also that we are coming with a new MSME Act, based on which any unit can establish with, and it will receive an acknowledgement certificate within 72 hours. So it's ready, get set to go within 72 hours, and they need not run across any departments for any approvals for 900 days. That's almost 3 years. So this is one thing that Uttar Pradesh is working on, and is very soon going to come up with an act, and we are coming out also with a set of policies for that. And of course, when we say about, we have reformed quite a number of labor laws. So this we have eliminated few redundant labor registrations that need not be done. So that is one thing that we have done. When we talk about certain incentives and policies, it will be very elaborative and comprehensive. And we have more than 20 plus sector specific lucrative policies. I can share across to you the email ID for Nivesh Mitra portal, where you can find the list of policies across various sectors through various departments, all in a single portal over there. I can share across to you the website. And when we talk about the India-US economic relations, of course, we know the sectors of FDI investment and bilateral trade that has so far happened. But when I talk about Uttar Pradesh, what we have been exclusive in terms of exporting to USA, the major part goes to the textile apparel and clothing. So we have got an extensive manufacturing of textiles hubs, numerous spindles across the state. Articles of iron, steel, and aluminium rank second from Uttar Pradesh to be exported to USA. We are very exclusive in the manufacturing of carpets. Now, the hand-woven carpets of Badohi are of world class, and it is being incentivized with an MSME program, one of its kind in India, called ODOP, One District, One Product. This program has gained so much name and fame and reputation for itself that is going to be adopted by the central government, and it's going to be spread across all throughout India. The states are in debates and discussions with the central government in asking Uttar Pradesh the insights and the knowledge on how we have implemented such a program under MSME. So these are few of the top exports from USA. Top exports from Uttar Pradesh to USA. Now, why I show you this slide is because these are COVID times, and USA and many other countries have been hugely reliant on China for imports on textiles, or when you say medical medicaments, apparels, and furnitures, and footwears, and horticulture. Now, India shares a very less share. of 3 to 7% in all of these articles mentioned. Now, this is a time for USA to look upon to India as a +1 supply chain rather than going to China. So, and Uttar Pradesh being already an exporter of such products, and we are having a trade relationship on these products before. So, Uttar Pradesh has a natural advantage of supplying these products to USA. So when I talk about the detail sector-wise opportunities,
I think we can wrap up since we are just coming. We can circulate this presentation.
I can circulate this presentation.
Yes,
but,
that would be that we can circulate this deck since this is a detailed deck, so we can run it after that. And we have to go to the Haryana since we are running almost out of the time. So thank you for providing the presentation on UP and Invest UP. In fact, each and every state, I would like just to apprise that everyone that each and every state and UT of India is having their own sector expertise. So if we talk about in terms of the UP, that's the mobile phone productions, the textile, that is more, the other two states already spoken about. And in fact, every state is contributing some level of company, some level of sectors. And that's why, in fact, Kritam Advisory have made a presentation, and in fact, on the website as well, they have linked the three things together. From the state, the sectors, and then sectors to the companies which are already there into that state. And we have one of the state, which is UP, already there. And in fact, the kind of presentation which you just shown, we'll be circulating. And now we have one person, representative from Haryana.
Thanks, Kapil. Thanks, Kapil. I'm Sanjay Garg. First of all,
hi, Sanjay. Mr. Sanjay, welcome to this webinar, and over to you for the presentation and any specific things on the Haryana state insightful for the American and foreign investors.
Yeah, sure, Kapil. First of all, namaskar to all the participants, and my apologies. Mr. Anurag Gargwal, our MD, he couldn't join because he's stuck up in some meeting. Since I think we are already running short of time, I'll give you a quick overview of Haryana and which sectors we can offer you. Haryana is 2/3 of Haryana. It lies in the NCR region, and 30 districts of Haryana are part of the NCR. And NCR alone provides access to 11% of Indian market. We are connected with 2 international airports, 5 civil airports. We have 26,000 kilometers of total road network. We have 9 ICDs. Haryana is home to 80% of the excavators manufacturers, 52% of the cranes, 33% of the two-wheeler manufacturing, and 50% of the cars manufacturing. We have leading manufacturers of footwear, leading manufacturers of sanitary wear. Other sectors where we are interested in or we have expertise is agribusiness, say agriculture implements, food processing, dairy. Apart from what we have the core competencies. Already a large number of US companies are present in Haryana, like PepsiCo, McKinsey, American Express, City, Amazon. All my other colleagues who have mentioned about the ecosystem, Haryana offers equally good ecosystem. We have HEPC, which is Haryana Enterprise Promotion Center, which is the single window platform. We commit 1 day to 30 days assured approvals. In case approvals are not coming, it is given to you as deemed approval. So in Haryana, we have ready infrastructure, ready availability of plotted colonies. You can start your factory from day one itself. We offer land on different models. You can own it, you can lease it, you can start on built up premises also. There are a large number of industrial estates where the entrepreneurs have already constructed the buildings, which are available as ready infrastructure as a plug and play system. Coming to the
thanks, Mr. Sanjay, for providing the insights of the state, and we will be sharing the detailed insights over the email to all the participants,
Sure.
and as well as to the investors by taking the relevant material from the stakeholders as well. And in fact, thank you everyone. And in fact, I request my team as well to they can just switch on the camera so that the team can come. And thanks everyone now for your participation, Mr. Atman, Hunar, Tonya, and all the state officers and representative for coming and providing the insights about their state as well as about India. So Kritam Advisory again plays a vital role and working on the theme of impetus and hand-holding the companies right from day one. And working with the organizations to support of Invest India, because they are the organization wherein the things has to move on along with the stakeholders. So we are even the channel to make the things happen at a handholding level with the organizations, with the government organizations of India. Thank you everyone. Thanks Deven. Thanks Debadeep. And who has made all efforts to invite all the speakers for this webinar at a very short span of time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hunar. Thank you so much, Mr. Jayesh. And thank you, Mr. Subramaniam Ji, for coming to the webinar. And thank you all other participants to attend the webinar. I'm a senior investment lead in Kritam Advisory. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Yes. And two words from Deven, who is a co-founder with Kritam Advisory.
With today's discussion, like I have more worked on the business side, more on the structuring side. And with this discussion today, we want to just say one thing, that whole India is now, it's like every state is want to have their own competition. Every state has it's like a one company which they're running, and they're coming up with the incentives, and it's good. So that competition, it's always going to help the economy as well as the employments also and other parts, right? And with the help of Invest India and other state benefits, India is going to be the next, it's a developing nation, and it is going to be the next developed nation. And that's what I want to just stand up.
Thanks. And in fact, I must say that Invest India is playing a vital role in making the competition among the peers of the states. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tonya.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.